Hi, I'm Vanessa from speakenglishwithvanessa.com. Are you experiencing a lockdown or quarantine in your country? Let's talk about it. It's true that we are living in very unusual times right now. It doesn't matter where you're from, what your native language is, what your background is, you are most likely experiencing the same lockdown and quarantine type situation that everyone else in the world is experiencing right now. For me, I live in the US in the state of North Carolina, and we are experiencing this in some ways, but also in a different way than people from other areas in the US and other areas of the world. So today I want to bring you a special present. This is a long video, but I hope you will enjoy it because I have some special guests for you today. It was my pleasure to be able to interview four online YouTube English teachers who you probably know and ask them about what the lockdown has been like in their country and just in their daily lives. So our first guest today is Emma from English. The second guest is Gabby from Go Natural English. My third guest is Jack from To Fluency. And my fourth guest is Lucy from the channel English with Lucy. At the end of this video, my husband Dan and I will talk a little bit about our personal experience with the lockdown and quarantine here in the US, at least in our state of North Carolina. So I hope that you'll be able to enjoy this video. Make sure that you click CC to be able to watch the full subtitles so that you can understand and catch every word that we say. During this video, I'm going to be posting some important expressions at the bottom of the screen, but if you want to catch every single word, you can always click CC and look at the subtitles so that you can catch everything. It's great to improve your listening skills, vocabulary, grammar, everything, and just spend a little bit of time feeling like we are in this together. We can do it. All right, let's go on and meet our first guest, who is Emma from English. All right, today I'm lucky to have the wonderful guest, Emma from English. Thank you so much for joining me, Emma.
No worries. I'm excited to have a chat on the other side of the world. We're doing a lot of this lately.
Yeah. So right now it's 10 a.m. for you and 10 p.m. for me.
Hmm.
So we are literally on opposite sides of the earth, but experiencing some similar things. So I thought that we could have a chat about the world circumstances right now with coronavirus and how that's affecting all of us. Doesn't matter what country we're in. So my first question for you is, I'm curious, what kind of regulations or changes have happened where you live? First of all, where do you live? But also, what kind of changes have happened for you?
First things first. Well, I'm in Australia. I live in Perth, which is on the west coast of Australia, similar time zone to Singapore. And we have been really, really fortunate in Australia for a couple of reasons. The first reason is we're really isolated. We are that far down the bottom end of the earth. No one comes through here on the way to somewhere else. It's just Australia is the final destination. And I think that for us in a situation like we're in now, that is a huge advantage because we just don't have as many people coming through.
Yeah.
And I feel like, well, that, yeah, we were so lucky about that.
Especially
Sometimes,
in Perth.
yeah, sometimes that's really frustrating. It's like, oh God, we're so far away from everything. But right now it's quite handy.
Yeah.
But we also had the huge advantage to be able to see what was happening before it got to us or before it got really serious. I think that Australians generally are we're pretty easygoing people. We don't take each other or our government or anything too seriously, which is a good thing and can be a bad thing. But I really think that Australians wouldn't have responded so well and so quickly to this problem if we couldn't see what was happening in Italy, in China, in South Korea, in Spain beforehand. And I think that was a huge, huge plus for us as well. So
Uh-huh.
at the moment, anyway, to answer your question, we are allowed to go out in groups of twos, or if you all live in the same house, a family, you can all go out together. And a lot of the restaurants, or all of the restaurants, gyms, cinemas and things are closed. So
Can you
like,
order takeout from restaurants?
you can do that. So it's interesting to think, how some businesses or some industries are able to really quickly adapt to a situation like this. So yeah, we can order takeouts. I've been spending a lot of time, cooking or doing things at home, which I normally don't do that much. So I've been taking advantage of, cooking in the kitchen and home meals and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I guess that kind of leads into my second question of, has your daily life changed much since all of these regulations and changes have happened kind of in the government level?
Um, yeah, it's interesting because I work at home in my home office. I film in my house. I film all of my YouTube videos and things in my house. So really not a lot has changed for me in terms of work,
Mm.
but my social life has been affected, obviously. All of our social lives have been affected. So for me, that's been the biggest change, is not being able to go out and see friends and, do the things that I would normally do. But yeah, not a huge amount of change for me as of yet.
Yeah, I guess especially because you already are used to working from home and the people you work with remotely, I imagine. So that's
Yeah,
very
exactly.
convenient.
Exactly. My whole team, actually, no one who I work with is based here in Perth, where I am. We're across time zones, across countries, and are already quite familiar with working this way. So it hasn't changed how we do things really, but it has changed the way that we support our communities, I guess. In particular, language communities that I run or that I'm a part of, we've done a lot to change the way that we deliver things, deliver lessons, deliver content to support all of our students who are, now at home with lots more time, but able to connect more than previously. And I think that's a really exciting opportunity for language learners.
Yeah, all of a sudden there's more free time, and the internet is really a great way to be able to fill that, and you can fill it positively with education.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, where you live, do you have any outdoor space where you can go, like a yard or any kind of private areas like that?
Um, so I live in an apartment,
Okay.
and I've got a couple of sort of big balconies which I, can be outside on, which is nice. I also live right near the beach, and there's parks and things that are just over the way.
Mm.
And for us, we're quite lucky in that we're coming out of summer, and so it's still quite warm, and the sun's shining, the weather's still really good. So there's a lot of outdoor activities that we can still do.
Mhm.
Obviously within just in groups of two, or not gathering in large places and things like that, but we're still able to make the most of the parks and things like that.
It's interesting that those types of places are still open where you are, because I live in the mountains where there's a lot of nature trails, and it seems like the perfect place to go during a time like this. But it seems like at the same time, that's all that anyone can do right now. So there were so many people doing that they closed like national parks, and a lot of the hiking areas are closed off because people didn't really treat it respectfully, I imagine. But
Yeah.
if the beach or places where you're at, people are still trying to maintain some distance, then it can still be used.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I mean, there was news story a couple of weeks ago about Bondi Beach in Sydney, which is a really famous beach, being absolutely covered in people. And the government came out and had to say, come on, guys, like, we've told you that you're not able to do this. We're going to have to close the beach. And so over here, there's fewer people in the city where I live, but the government has also been saying, you know, you really have to, you know, follow the rules. Otherwise, we are going to have to close down the beaches.
But as long as people are doing that, then it's usable, and at the end of summer, the perfect thing to do to kind of refresh your mind a little bit.
Yeah, I feel like if I didn't have, you know, that space, I would be, you know, feeling a lot more frustrated right now. So
Yeah.
fortunately, and fingers crossed, it stays that way.
Yeah, especially living in an apartment, it's essential to be able to get outside and have some open space.
Yeah,
Uh,
sure is.
So I'm curious, what do you think, looking to the future, what do you think life is going to be like after the pandemic has passed, assuming that it will pass in some way, hopefully at some point? What do you think
Yeah.
life's going to be like in your hypothetical opinion?
Ooh, I don't know. I've been thinking about this quite a lot lately. I think that one of the most exciting changes is what's happening in our workforce and the way that people are, you know, having to very quickly learn how to work from home, work remotely, you know, with when their team is not around them. And for lots of businesses, that's really, really challenging. Lots of industries, that's quite hard to do. But for many, I think it, you know, it was almost like a stubbornness by lots of very traditional companies to, you know, who didn't believe that they could trust their staff or that it was possible for everyone to be as productive and as effective at home. So I think it's really exciting that we've been forced into this situation where everyone's been put to the test a little to see, is this possible? Can it work? What are all of the tools that we need to make it work? And the reason why I think that's really exciting is because it creates a much more level playing field for a whole bunch of people in our society, women, people who are, you know, raising families, for people with disabilities, or, you know, other challenges that they have in their lives that mean they need a little bit more flexibility in the way that they do things. And so I feel like this has been a really interesting opportunity for them to experience that and to prove to their managers, bosses, companies that, you know, it might be a possible way forward for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what you think about that, but I feel like that's one of the biggest positives that is coming out of this situation.
Yeah, I hadn't really thought about people who might be at some kind of disadvantage, how this could help them in their career. But even thinking about people who live in some faraway remote area, if a company is more used to hiring online and allowing people to work remotely, why not hire someone who lives far away as well, who maybe doesn't have access to a really great company, but if they're allowed to work remotely, maybe all of a sudden people in other areas have access to a
Yeah.
great job or all of those types of things. That would be really interesting to see.
We can see this whole like, you know, boom in the technology and the tools that we need to support us through this as well. And I think, yeah, exactly, like you say, people in regional areas or rural areas, you know, who previously had to move to big cities for these big job opportunities, you know, maybe that will change. I think that's really exciting.
Yeah.
A lot of things have been shaken up by this. I don't think we, you know, have had the chance to really anticipate it. So we've had to respond really quickly. You know, socially, things have changed a lot. Environmentally, things are changing a lot. Politically, all of these things, economically, obviously. And I think it's a once in a lifetime opportunity for us to try something different, you know, be forced into something different.
Everyone around the world is doing it.
Everyone's doing it. But the really most interesting part, I think, is being able to think about what we take back to normal after this is finished, you know, after the pandemic's over, or after they find a vaccine, and, you know, the fear and the stress and the worry sort of, you know, reduces a little. But there's so many different things that, you know, I'm constantly thinking, I quite like this aspect of this new life that we have. So how can I sort of take that back into what I was doing, what is normal?
Yeah.
So that a lot of that is to do with like the social sort of side of things, and, you know, I guess just slowing things down a little. Before all of this happened, I was like working hours and hours and hours and hours a day, rushing around, then trying to go out and meet friends and do this and go there and buy this and all of these things. And I was constantly running around and rushing and trying to sort of make all of these things fit into the limited number of hours I had in my day. And what I've really, really appreciated is just the opportunity to slow that down and to do some more things that are just for me, or, you know, just focusing on me. A little bit more sleep, or a little bit more exercise. You know, like I said, I'm doing a bit more cooking, which before I was like, I'm too busy for that. And enjoying that as well. So I'm thinking carefully about what parts of this experience now I want to sort of try and take back into new normal once all of this is over.
Yeah, I think it will seem, like you mentioned, if you're a go, go, go kind of person, to just jump back into that might seem kind of hectic. Like it was hectic before, but you see it as hectic now, which will be an interesting shift. We'll see exactly what happens, but it's very interesting.
It's a very idealistic way of looking at our current situation.
Yeah, well, I like that positive attitude though, because there's so many negative things, or all of the fear and stress. So just thinking about the positives we can take away, it's really, yeah, it's good for the morale.
I'm always trying to think more positively about negative situations. That's all you can do.
Yes. Well, thank you so much, Emma, for this chat, and thank you for sharing it with all of my students as well. I hope they get a chance to, I'm sure all of them have already seen English, but if you haven't, make sure you check it out. I'll post links and all of that as well. Yes. Well, thank you so much. I hope we get to chat again sometime in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. Have a really good sleep.
Thank you. Have a good day. Bye. Well, today I am lucky to be here with Gabby from Go Natural English, another amazing English teaching channel. You've been around YouTube for quite a while.
Yeah, almost 10 years. Hi, everyone.
Amazing. Well, I'm so glad that you're here. Thank you so much for taking your valuable time today.
Thank you. I'm really excited to be here with you, Vanessa. Thank you.
Yes. So even though we are living kind of far apart, we're experiencing similar life circumstances right now. So I'm curious for you, what kind of regulations or changes have happened in the last month where you live? First of all, kind of what area or what country are you living in, so people can get an idea, and what kind of changes have happened over the last month for you?
It's been very interesting because last month I was in Kansas City for a few weeks and then went back to Los Angeles right as the virus was unfolding and new regulations and orders were coming into play. And so we decided, my boyfriend and I, we decided to come back to the Kansas City area from LA. So when LA had this kind of rollout of new orders, we thought, okay, maybe we should go back to Missouri where things are a little bit more calm and peaceful and less people. And so we're actually in the Kansas City area right now. And it's interesting because across the United States, we've had these stay-at-home orders, right? And it happened first in Los Angeles, and then here in Kansas City. It was about a week behind here. So we had a little more time to kind of prepare But we have been staying at home just like most people in the US.
Yeah, and probably you have a little more space there too. Maybe could feel a
Yes,
little more comfortable.
a bigger yard to play in. Yes.
That is essential. So you have some kind of private or personal outdoor space that you can go to, like a yard.
Exactly. Yeah. So, kind of personal stories. I have a house in the Kansas City area, and I have some family in the Kansas City area. So
Oh,
I go
cool.
back and forth a lot. So it just seems like an easy place to kind of hunker down during stay at home and just, yeah,
Yeah.
have more space to, walk around in the yard or be outside. So
Yeah.
that's
I'm
why we
curious
decided.
because you teach online, I imagine most of your work related things are at home or at least not out and in an office. So, how
Right.
has your daily life changed since all of this? I know you've moved back and forth a little bit, but as far as just your daily habits, has an awful lot changed for you?
Honestly, because for so many years I've been working from home. I mean, I know it's a big change for many people to be working from home, working remotely, but I've been doing this for so long. I just kind of feel like it's another day at my home office. Speaking of work, not like free time or social life, but
Mm.
work life is pretty much the same. I feel very lucky in that regard.
Yeah, I do too, just to be already comfortable with working from home and that you can continue doing that. It's
Yeah,
really a good position to be in and hopefully helpful for English learners. We can keep giving them English lessons.
absolutely. Yeah. And I think more and more people are looking to the internet and
Mm.
YouTube and online courses to learn from nowadays. And it's becoming more and more normal. And I love that because that's what we do.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems like this is the perfect time to spend more time enriching yourself if you have a little bit extra time.
Definitely. Now is the time. If you have to stay at home and have a little extra free time because you're not going out, then learn something new.
Yeah, have you found yourself at all picking up other activities? Or I know a lot of people, at least around here, have gotten pets or they like started a garden because you're at home a lot.
So it's really funny because my dad gave me a stack of books and magazines about country living, which is it's very Missouri. This is kind of a rural area. If people don't know, Kansas City is a big city, but anyway, some people like my dad are into raising chickens and having a garden, and so I've become a little obsessed with the idea of having a garden and chickens. I don't have any yet, but hopefully soon.
Yeah, I think at least around here, the stores have, I don't know if there's not really specific chicken stores, but places where you get chickens have just sold out because so many people are wanting to kind of spend more quiet time, go back to the traditional ideas.
Yes, it's
So,
very interesting.
yeah, I guess people like your dad are ahead of the curve.
Totally. Well, he was ahead of the curve before even it started. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm curious, what do you think is going to happen in the future after
Hmm.
at least the major part of the pandemic has passed? What do you think life's going to be like? Similar, different?
I think it will be a little different than before. I think that we may not go out as much as before.
Oh,
Maybe it will take a while to get back to where we were, or maybe people will be a little bit more hesitant to go
mm,
out or do things in large groups or too close together to people. I think long answer short, just people will be a little bit more cautious
mm,
because I don't think the virus will go away completely.
yeah.
We'll have to just be aware of washing our hands more often and just taking care of ourselves if we do get sick, not pushing ourselves too hard. I hope that it will become more normal to maybe work from home if you're not feeling
Mm.
well, or take time off if you're not feeling well, and for people to really be healthy.
Yeah. Yeah. The idea of it's hard to just shake the idea that, oh, I shouldn't stand too close to my neighbor, all those things that
Right.
it feels weird now, but it also feels weird to hug a neighbor because we've
Yeah.
gotten so used to that distancing.
So
It'll be
people are
weird to
not
jump
really,
back in.
yeah, people are not really hugging or shaking hands these days. And I think you're right. It will be a little strange to start doing that again. I think there's going to be some very awkward months ahead where we're like, do we shake hands or just hi?
Yeah, yeah, it even feels weird like that now because at least where I live, there's not an awful lot of cases, or at least it's not people I personally know. So when you see your neighbors, it just feels weird. Like, oh, I want to help you in your garden or give you some food or all those types of things, but kind of have to
Yeah.
keep our distance.
Yeah, right. It's really interesting. I think we're all just kind of figuring it out together at the same time. And it's good to talk about it. I'm really glad that, we're having this talk and that you'll talk with other English teachers and many other people in the comments too. I'm sure
Yes.
we'll have this discussion continuing, but it's interesting to figure out what is life going to be like in the following months and years.
Yeah, I'm curious, especially too for children, how they're going to be in the future. Will this like be a traumatic event where they'll be afraid to touch other people in the
Right.
future or get close?
Or children who were in school and
Oh,
now they're learning from home and there's so many children who are not going back to school until maybe next year. It's crazy.
yeah. Even for my 2-year-old, the other day, he said, "Mommy, I touched our neighbor's ball." It's like, oh, it's okay. It's okay. It's like so
Oh, that's so
precious. He
sweet.
doesn't know why we don't want him to do that. Doesn't quite understand, but that might linger after all of this
Definitely.
has passed.
Right. Like these kids will grow up thinking they can't touch anything.
Yeah, it'll be quite interesting. I'm sure it'll affect us and kids and everyone else for quite a while.
Yeah, but I think just taking it day by day and just trying to help each other out and being kind and yeah, that's all we can do really.
Yeah, I agree. Just sharing kindness is a great idea.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Gabby, for sharing your thoughts and just kind of what's going on in your life. Because
Of course.
no
Thank
matter
you.
where we live, we're all doing this.
Of course. Yeah. I loved meeting online like this. This is so cool. It's a great substitute for face-to-face meetings. And, we're not even in the same city. So of course we would probably do this anyway online, but
It's
it's
a good
great.
excuse.
Yes.
Yes. Well, thank you so much. I hope that everyone gets a chance to check out Go Natural English YouTube channel
Thank
and
you.
keep learning, enriching yourself with all the time that we have now to not go out and be social. You can learn online.
Yes. Thanks so much, Vanessa.
Yes, my pleasure. All right, I'm here with Jack from the wonderful YouTube channel To Fluency, who is another English teacher on the YouTubes. So thanks for joining me, Jack.
Sure thing, Vanessa. Glad to be
Yes.
here.
So we are surprisingly living in the same city, which is unlike any of the other people who are in this video. But even though we're in the same city, we are living different lives, but experiencing the same thing, this quarantine business. So I'm curious for you, even though they're similar to me, what kind of regulations or changes have happened for you over the last month or so since the quarantine or just the pandemic has been going on?
Yeah, it's hard to think about the time frame of it all, because I remember there was before the lockdown happened, and the city basically said, we are implementing these guidelines. Kate and I had done some of that as well, so we were a little bit aware of. We thought it was going to happen, and my son wasn't feeling very well, so we took him out of school as a precaution. And then suddenly it started, and those guidelines were something that I was expecting, and it's been interesting for me as well to compare them to other cities around the world, other countries. I'm from the UK, but I live in America, so just like comparing what everyone is doing in that regard.
Yeah, and
But
even within the US, it seems like different cities and states are dealing with it in different ways.
that's right. And it's interesting also to see how cities are dealing with it, and then how that compares to the state, and then the country, and the different advice and guidelines that are being passed down. But yeah, I feel in terms of the guidelines that have been set, they've been pretty general in terms of what other people are facing right now. It started with no large gatherings, and then it started to be a little bit more strict with schools closing. Certain businesses are allowed to be open. Some of that has changed slightly, but a lot of it is just, it's down to essential versus non-essential.
Yeah, so there's not a specific amount of time you can be outside, or even saying, for example, Emma in Australia said that they can only have gatherings of 2 people. I feel like the US hasn't really implemented something that specific. It's just don't gather in large groups of more than 10, or something a little more vague than other places.
Yeah, so a good example is in the UK, you can go outside to exercise once per day. So you have your very specific hour, let's say, when you can go exercise, and they're cracking down on people even just like stopping and taking a break. Whereas here, there's no general guideline to that. So we're spending a lot of time outside in our neighborhood, especially. And in the yard. Especially
with kids, you have to get out of the house, or else you just go stir crazy.
Oh yeah, it's better for everyone.
Yeah.
And luckily right now the weather's just incredible.
I can't imagine if this had happened in the middle of the winter, we would be going crazy.
Yeah.
So I'm curious about your daily life. You kind of hinted you live in a neighborhood, you have kids. How has your daily life changed in the last month or so?
Well, we feel very fortunate that we've all been healthy throughout this period, and also that I do what I do, which is, you know, similar to what you do, and my wife also has a job that allows her to work from home. But with that, with the 2 children at home, I'm working, my wife's working. They have to have schoolwork done, and there's no way that we can get childcare at this time.
Right.
It's been a challenge, but it's actually been really nice at the same time, because I think part of it is I can be flexible with when I work. My wife's school teaching. She has certain hours that she has to do stuff. Our children, it's both good and bad that we have 2 in regards to them being able to entertain each other. They have company because they can't play with other children. But then when there are times of the day when everyone's a little bit on edge, it's madness. Like just before dinner time, for example, when, let's say I'm trying to finish a video, my wife gets a call from her lead teacher to say, you know, we need this done now. And then the children are hungry. One of them's tired. One of them hasn't napped. It's everything like comes together at one point. But we're managing pretty well. And we're actually in a routine that we haven't been in for a long time, because we don't have to do the school drop off. We don't have to do certain things, that the commitments that we have, classes, soccer practice, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, everything's just come to a halt.
Yeah. So we've just got into a really good routine at the moment that's more or less working for everyone. And yeah, everyone's being quite flexible at the same time.
It's really great that you guys can flexibly work, and first of all, have jobs that are still continuing, but be able to work from home as well. So what do you think? I guess we should say when this is over, not if this is ever over, but when this is over, what do you think the future looks like? What's your prediction?
It's very difficult, isn't it? Because we're in a very uncertain times, and there are different things to consider with this. And you know, and this is from a very American perspective as well, when I think about what's going to happen and think about the UK. But yeah, I feel that these lockdowns are going to probably continue, in terms of it's already been extended as longer than most people thought.
Yeah.
And then it just seems like everyone is saying there's going to be that second wave, which is likely going to come in the fall. So we're preparing in many ways for this to be extended over the long term. And from that, I say we, Kate and I have talked about this a lot, my wife and I. And we were actually watching The Big Short together last night. Have you seen that movie?
No, I haven't.
Well, it's based on the 2008 crash.
Okay.
But there's certain parts of it where you watch it and you think, this is just like what's going on at the moment in terms of the economy, but also that was during the SARS outbreak. So there was a scene when one of the characters was wearing a mask and they ridiculed him because he was wearing a mask in America. But now that has come around where we're all being told to wear masks outside. But just to go back to that, I see there's so many different ways that it can play out. And you can just take any kind of industry and think, okay, how's that going to be affected? And what's the knock-on effect of that?
Right.
So you can think about the travel industry. And it's very difficult to picture this time next year, the travel industry being back to normal.
Yeah. Even in a year, who knows what's going to happen. What do you think about the education side of it? Because you have 2 kids in the education system. My kids are too young for that now. So for you, what do you think is going to happen with education? Not so much even will they go back to school in the fall, but do you think that remote education will be integrated at all into whatever the new system is, even if it's completely safe to go back to school, just because that's what's been going on? They've been remotely educating for a while. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think it's interesting because some people are seeing the advantages to it, where, I mean, the biggest advantage is you don't have to travel. Just the factor that you can work remotely. But at the same time, I see a lot of frustration with it. And it seems like it's been just put onto people in such a big way that they haven't had time to ease into this and get used to the resources available. But what surprised me is that how good it has been with the limited time they've had. So the kind of resources we're getting from both the schools that my children go to have just been, they've been excellent. And they have enjoyed it. I've been surprised at how well it's worked. Yeah.
So they're engaged even though it's just a screen. Is it the teacher that they see, or do they see all of the students, or what's that like?
So usually they do it on a grid and they can see every student.
Oh, okay.
And the benefit of this, from a teacher point of view, is that you can mute everybody. So instead of, when you ask a question, you can just say, okay, Emma. So my daughter just had a Spanish lesson, and she's 3.5. They teach Spanish in preschool. So today's lesson was Spanish. And I was listening in, and it was just incredible because they get everyone to repeat stuff. And Emma was repeating it. And then they unmute Emma and say, all right, Emma, how do you say it's snowing? And she just said it. And they're completely engaged. My sister's been giving our children lessons as well, doing craft projects. So they've been for 2 hours at a time in front of the screen, interacting with my sister, and she's going through all these different projects that they're doing, asking questions, they're having discussions, and it's been incredible, some of that's been going on.
That's really sweet too that your sister would do that. I mean, probably it's a good way to connect, but that's so kind.
Oh, everyone's winning because the children love it, we love it, and she just loves it. She loves to be, with them. So
Oh,
Yeah,
that's not a bad idea for like remote relationships, even for like my 2.5-year-old. Let's
mhm.
do a puzzle together and just pretend like they're there, but it's just a screen.
Yeah. And if you're going to do that, I recommend having a computer set up and then sitting down at a desk, because we found any type of like Zoom time with my sister on a phone just turns into a battle where they're both trying to get it, and they're holding it. They want to be over here, they want to be over there, but it
Uh,
keeps them like centered.
sure, it's
And
already fixed on the desk. This is where you're gonna stay.
yeah,
Oh, that's really interesting. I'm kind of surprised. Maybe just sounds like you were a little surprised too that they're actually engaged with the class or with your sister doing projects, because you'd kind of think that maybe it's not for everyone, but that most kids would just think, oh, no one's here. I can do whatever I want.
no, I think they're craving that
Mm,
kind of interaction too. The type of work where they have to work through things on their own, you
mm.
can tell they're not as engaged into that, and you have to be with them and try and lead them down.
Sure.
But when it's a class, they're definitely engaged.
Yeah, I guess that's the kind of thing that I've heard as a kind of a complaint about this remote learning is it's not really homeschooling, because that would mean you're coming up with the curriculum as the parent, but you're kind of just the intermediary. You're being given the information, which could be a little tough, but sounds like kind of working for you guys so far.
Well, yeah, to the best of its ability. I mean,
Yeah.
everyone needs their space,
Mm.
and
Is that possible?
not really. No, it's very difficult to get that time. But then
Mm,
it's just showing that people are having to get creative and to do
mm,
things in different ways. So
yeah.
for me, it's I want to have certain time to exercise.
Mm,
If I start exercising, like, oh, I'm just going to sneak off and do something, then within 2 minutes, they're jumping on my back if I'm doing,
yep.
push-ups. But then you just have to think, how can you get them involved so everyone's doing
Mm,
things together?
sure. The level of creativity and patience has to double.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, very interesting to hear how things are going, even just across the city for me. So thank you so much, Jack, for sharing about your daily life, your predictions for the future. I'm curious to hear what other people from around the world, especially with kids, have experienced with remote learning and all of that. 'Cause every country does it a little differently, but kids are still kids.
Yeah, and I think a lot depends as well on the parent's job. So,
Mm,
Kate and I are a little bit more flexible, and we can spend more time with them. But I know people who are having to do that while having to log 10 hours a day
oh
at
my
home.
goodness.
And I see them at the end of the day, and
That is
I mean,
impossible.
it's impossible. That's the thing. And that's why I feel very fortunate that we can be flexible and spend that time with them.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And for those people, it would be the perfect time for them to be able to have a babysitter come over, but we can't do that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Kind of this strange cycle, but we are all pushing through. So thank you so much for sharing, Jack. I
My
appreciate it.
pleasure.
For anyone who hasn't found Jack's YouTube channel yet, make sure you check it out and continue learning, use this free time to have remote education. All of us are doing it.
Yeah. Well,
Yes.
thank you.
Well, thanks so much, and I'll talk to you later.
Yep. Speak soon. Bye-bye.
Bye. All right, I am here with the wonderful Lucy from English with Lucy, the wonderful
Hello.
channel. Thanks so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me. It's such an honor to be here.
Oh, it's my honor to talk with you. So even though you're living far away on the other side of the ocean, we are experiencing some similar circumstances, as is probably everyone watching this. So I'm curious, in the strange quarantine times, what kind of regulations or changes have happened where you live? First of all, where do you live? And then what kind of changes have happened in your area?
So I live in Bedfordshire, which is a county near London
Okay.
in England. And there have been quite a few changes, but I will say from the beginning that I live on a farm in England. So some of the changes haven't quite reached me. So life is quite unaffected compared to how other people's lives are affected.
Sure, you're not in the middle of a city in a small apartment.
No, and when we do have to drive to a city or a town, it's unbelievable how different everything is. It feels like the apocalypse.
Yeah, no one's anywhere.
Yeah, and I think one big thing is that people don't make eye contact, as if that's going to spread the disease.
Virus will just shoot out of your eyes. I'm gonna get you.
Yeah, so are you being told in America to stay 6 feet apart?
Yes.
So we use the metric system, so we're being told 2 meters apart, which I think is similar.
About the same, yeah.
Yeah. I've forgotten, whereabouts are you?
I live on the East Coast in North Carolina, so it's not even a big city, but still it's pretty deserted, like any city, I guess, in the UK too. But
yeah,
it's a strange thing to have to stay away from people, especially people that you previously knew. Like all of a sudden they have something and you have to avoid them.
Yeah, and everybody has different standards of how seriously they're taking the recommendations. So it's kind of awkward at first, like, are we doing the 2 meters? Are we doing more? But I guess my biggest problem at the moment is I'm really missing my mum.
Oh, sure. So generally, even like families aren't really getting together if you don't live together.
It's you have to stick with your household. So for anyone that's not in your household, you're not allowed to visit them. If you do bump into each other, you've got to be 2 meters apart. But if I wanted to go on a walk outside of the farm, then I would be able to go with my fiance Will. But that would be it. Yeah.
Oh, interesting. So that's actually a regulation that you can't meet with people. Because here it's not a regulation that you can't, but it's generally suggested.
It's funny, isn't it?
People are together sometimes, but
yeah, I think it's hard for them to tell us, like, absolutely don't do this. I think there's a lot of ethical boundaries maybe, but we're advised no meetings of more than 2 people, but we're also advised to not mix with other households. So it's a bit hard to understand, but there have been lots of really good things that our government has done. Because we've obviously got a lot of people that now can't go to work. You're only allowed to go to work if it's essential, or if you can still maintain the what's it called, self-isolation.
Oh, sure. If you can still self-isolate while you're working.
Yeah, whilst you're working. So for example, gardeners can still work and window cleaners can still work as long as they don't have contact. But they are doing something which is called furloughing, which is a word that I've just learnt. I've never heard of it before, but it's basically if you have to stop working, the government will pay up to 80% of your salary, your monthly salary, up to £2,850 a month, I think, which is a lot. That's a high salary. You
can survive and probably not change much of your lifestyle.
Yeah, so for anyone who is employed by someone, if their employer is choosing to put them on this scheme, the employer has to pay them now, but then they can claim back the money later from the government. So I'm surprised that the government have been so generous with that figure. But I think it's really good.
Yeah, people in the US don't listen to that.
No, sorry.
Get jealous.
But it's not good for everyone, because we have a lot of self-employed people.
Right.
And there are quite specific regulations on who can claim.
Talking about being self-employed, I imagine that's the category you fall under.
I'm a company and I employ myself.
Yeah.
But I'm not taking any money from the government because my business isn't really affected by this.
Sure. So has your daily life been affected much? You said you live far enough away from the city, but I guess you still go to the grocery store and places like that when you need to. So
my whole world hasn't changed too much. Honestly, I lived quite a solitary life anyway, because we live on a farm. My fiance is a farmer. I work from home, and anyone who I do work with, I work with remotely. So do it over emails and Skype and things like that. And I also never, ever go to the supermarket because I have a shopping delivery, because the closest supermarket is still like 30 minutes away. So it's quite, that's a long round trip. I'd have to take out a whole afternoon to do a weekly shop. So normally at 7:30 on a Monday morning, I have a shopping delivery. But this has been quite difficult since the lockdowns come in.
Sure, everyone wants that now.
Everyone wants it. And the Prime Minister said before he became ill, he was doing a daily broadcast in the afternoon. And one day he said, and I really recommend that everyone uses online delivery services. Explosions everywhere.
Wow.
I was in a queue. I tried to go on to edit an order that I'd made, and I was number 63,000 in a queue to get onto the website.
What? 63,000?
Yeah,
Wow.
We overloaded, and then the orders that we had made didn't arrive, so it was chaos. So now they're doing priority customers, so people who are vulnerable, people who definitely people who are older, people who have underlying health conditions, and people that maybe are a single parent but with children. They are meant to be given the priority. Sometimes it's not reaching them, so we're doing that. So I am going to the supermarket now.
Okay. So this is the new life. You're actually going back and when you go to the store or other places that are more public like that, are people wearing masks and gloves, or what's that like? 'Cause I know that's a little different everywhere.
Yeah, it's funny because masks aren't a part of our culture. I know in some countries, especially in Asia, wearing a mask is quite normal, but it's not a part of our culture, and so no one really has them. And if we do have them, then they're not necessarily the right ones. So Will, my fiance, gave me a mask to wear, and I was like, Will, this is a dust mask for like doing woodwork. I don't think that's gonna do much, but he made me wear it anyway. And I did go to the supermarket, and there was a huge queue outside of people 2 meters apart. And it looked really long, but actually, because it was so spaced out, it went down quite quickly. And they're doing it so that there's a limited amount of people allowed in the shop at each time. And it did take a long time, because also you don't want to crowd someone. If I want to look at the tomatoes, but someone is already looking at the tomatoes, I have to wait my turn. It's an interesting experience. I try not to go too often.
Yeah, it does seem like it's meant to help. At the same time, a little inconvenient. Like here, they've put arrows on the ground in grocery stores so that you have to follow certain patterns. It's a recent thing.
That sounds fun.
Yeah, I haven't been to the store in like maybe 2 months. I don't know. It's been forever.
Wow.
Because my husband's been going. Either I was really, really pregnant or just had a newborn, so it made sense for him to go anyway. But
yeah,
I've heard that if you, for example, want a bag to put the apples in, you have to follow the arrows all the way to the other side to get the bag, and then follow the arrow. So it's maybe not so intuitive right now, but the idea is nice.
Oh my God. Yeah, it's been interesting to see how it's just slowly changed, and the restrictions are getting stronger and stronger. Because at first, I don't think we all really believed that it was going to be such a big deal.
Yeah.
I remember saying myself back in March, like, it'll be fine. I think it'll be fine. But now, we're not fine. Yes. But we definitely have to stay far away from the cashier. The person that's, what do you call a cashier in America?
The cashier.
Oh, okay. Store clerk. Isn't that?
It kind of feels a little old-fashioned. Maybe in the official title it says I'm a store clerk, but yeah, cashiers. So do they have any kind of barrier? I know some places have put up like a glass barrier, like at the bank or something.
Yeah, we do have that actually. Yeah, we do. One thing that's become really popular that I think is really good is where, because people are struggling to find the food they want in the supermarkets and also to get the delivery slots, we are, or people in general in the UK, are using local providers more. So obviously I'm a farmer's wife to be, so I'm very passionate about using farm shops, but all the local farm shops are noticing booming trade, and they're doing, you can phone them up, say what you want, they'll pack a box and pass it over the fence to you. The local butchers are doing deliveries, and all of these kind of service providers that were overlooked before, like Milkman. I don't know if you have milk delivery services in the US.
No, but that sounds really quaint and amazing.
In little glass bottles. So
is that a real service?
Oh yeah, the Milkman. It's a running joke in my village that my mum had an affair with the Milkman because because I'm blonde and so's the Milkman and my dad isn't, but that's not true.
Yeah, usually we just say the mailman, like, oh, you look like the
mailman. Yeah, exactly. No, we've always used a Milkman. He's very nice and well loved in the village.
I imagine he is well loved. Cool. It kind of reminds me of something that might have happened at the turn of the century, but
they use electric milk floats now. So the little vans that they drive are electric, so you don't hear them. They're just like
this very mysterious milk arriving at your door. Oh.
Yeah, it's a really good low carbon footprint because you have it driven to you in an electric van from a local dairy.
Oh, that's cool.
Brilliant. Yeah, and they bring loads of services, and so milkmen were in decline, and now
the business to be in.
Yeah. You know, seriously, it's cool.
Oh, yeah, I'm curious to hear if other people from other countries too, if local businesses, like especially food businesses, have gained in popularity, because that is true. People want to avoid going to stores, and it's maybe more convenient to get something.
Yeah.
Do you have like CSA type programs? It's
What's
like
that?
You get like a weekly box of vegetables usually from a farm, and you sign up for a membership. And
yes, lots of those around.
Community supported agriculture, I think is what it stands for.
Okay.
But you can sign up for something like that.
I mean, there are lots of farms that do veg boxes. They're normally run by farm shops. There's a really successful one that's with us. They have that's near us. They have a barn that they sell the food from, and then they also do deliveries on a certain day. And they've been. I mean, it's like a luxury now if you get a slot with them because they're so popular. No, it's really cool. I'm really glad that people are going back and are happy to pay a little bit more for something that is more local and kind of meat that's been responsibly produced as well. I like that.
Sure. Yeah. And transported halfway across the globe.
Yeah, that is good because at the moment we're noticing in our supermarkets that we get a lot of meat from like New Zealand, which couldn't be further.
Yeah.
I think, so it is nice that people are using British products more.
Yeah, that's a pleasant, positive turn of events. And that kind of leads to my final question, because I'm curious what you think is going to happen after all this passes. But even with food, do you think people will continue to go to those local shops after all of this main part of the pandemic has passed? What's your prediction?
I think so because it's about forming a habit, isn't it? And once you get used to something, it becomes kind of just part of your day or your week. I really hope that food delivery services, whether they're from supermarkets or from local providers, become more popular, because instead of lots of families all driving to the supermarket and coming home, it's just one van doing a calculated route, which I think is quite good.
Yeah.
Clears up the roads, because that's one thing we've noticed. The roads have been so clear. I walk my dog normally with a lead, but I don't even have to now because there are no cars around. So
so even out in a rural area, there's noticeably less traffic.
Oh yeah, way less. But there are a lot more. I wonder if you know what this is. Mammals.
Is this a different way to say mammals?
No,
the type of animal?
It's MAMILS. It's something that is a recent phenomenon.
Oh.
It's middle-aged men in lycra, and it's.
This is an actual acronym.
Yeah, You'll hear it mentioned on the radio. People are getting really annoyed about the amount of mammals, because men, it seems to be predominantly males, but there are lots of females as well, have taken to cycling. But it's unbelievable. There are so many of them. Just and they're
all of a sudden everyone just pulled their bike out of the garage or out of somewhere to
oiled it up, squeezed into their lycra, and yeah, they're going everywhere. And I think so we've been told by the government that we're allowed 1 hour of exercise per day. It's either one exercise session or 1 hour long session, I can't remember. And people are taking that really seriously. Like, they feel like they deserve their hour. They're entitled to their hour.
And if you're wearing lycra, maybe that should be like 30 minutes.
You know, my dad once bought a pair of lycra shorts for running in, which you should never run in lycra shorts. And she cut out the crotch area. So when he put them on, he couldn't wear them.
She did that just so that he couldn't wear them?
Yes, not for any other reason. Yeah, just so that he wouldn't wear them. So he put them on and she'd ruined them. And it actually was a big issue in our house for a while. He was really upset, but she hated them so much and he wasn't listening.
Oh, man. Yeah, because what are you going to do? How are you going to dissuade him from doing this? Only one way.
No, especially when everyone else is out there doing it. But yeah, I wonder if people are going to maintain the social distancing regulations, like not shaking hands, not kissing. I'm quite happy with that. The less I have to touch people, the better.
Yeah, it seems like there's been so many, at least for me, because I have a newborn, so my neighbors are dying to hold him and like be close. And
yes.
So it will be a little bit weird though when this passes to feel like it's okay, because well, maybe it's not, and we felt like it wasn't okay for so long.
Yes, because I hear that one thing, especially with newborn babies, is people want to kiss them, and actually
it's impossible not to kiss the little cheeks.
Oh, the cheeks! I love the cheeks, and then also when they look like they have elastic bands around their wrists. You know, when they get chubby.
Love the lumps. He has the little baby rolls, but yeah, it's going to be weird to feel like we don't have some kind of complex after this. Like, oh, is this okay? I'm going to be kind of traumatized.
Yeah, it's going to be weird. I wonder how long this will go on for. We're meant to be getting married in September.
Oh,
so
okay then.
Fingers crossed. We can postpone it. There's no issue, but I've been growing my hair especially for the wedding, and I'm really getting tired of it. So
it can only take a couple more months.
It's started tickling the bottom of my back now, and if it goes any further.
Yeah, if you postpone it till next year, you're going to have world's longest hair flowing behind you. You don't even need a veil.
Especially as this is something funny actually that's happened during lockdown. Men can't get their hair cut. Now, women, it doesn't matter that much, apart from maybe the roots I think some women are struggling with, but all the men have started shaving their heads.
Oh, shaving their heads, really?
Yeah. It's only been a couple of weeks. How fast does their hair grow? But they've all been putting it on their social media, and some girlfriends seem to be better at it than others. Some kind of lawnmower stripes.
This has not caught on in the US yet, but we're usually a couple weeks behind, so maybe in a couple weeks that will happen. Oh yeah, I saw a funny picture that was like a little comic, and it showed men lining up to go to a barber shop after this is finished, and everyone had crazy hair, and the barber was just in shock, like, how am I gonna deal with this? Because it's
trimmers.
Yes, that's all you can do.
Yeah, Will's starting to feel a little bit. I think it was like back in 2007, 2008, when like men had like sweeping side fringes and stuff, and they'd flick it like this. He's starting to look a little bit early 2000s for my liking and his liking, but we'll get through this difficult time.
It is either that or shave your head. So we've got two options.
No, he can't shave it, just in case the wedding does go ahead. No, we're not doing that.
Oh, wow. Well, thank you so much for sharing your
you.
life and thoughts and predictions. We'll see what happens. Hopefully your wedding can still happen and Will won't resort to having to shave his head.
Pray for me, please.
Or you.
Yeah, no, it's lovely to talk. Thank you for having me on.
Oh, my pleasure. I hope you continue to have an okay quarantine there on a lovely farm. At least you've got some nice space outside to roam freely.
Yeah, it's good. We're in a fortunate position. I really do feel for people who don't have any outside space, and people with animals who don't have outside space, because that must be so frustrating having to tell your dog, like, I'm so sorry, but we can't. Yeah, because you can't explain to a dog, can you?
Yeah, I didn't even think about that with dogs. I was just thinking about the crazed 3-year-old children running around an apartment going insane.
Yeah, because how do you explain to like a 2-year-old, no, we can't go to the park? No, my dog's become really entitled. He's because I've been going out quite a lot on a run in the morning and like another walk in the evening, just because even though my life hasn't changed, I feel like I should make the most of it. And now at like 7 o'clock, if I haven't taken him on his additional walk, he like gets all up in my face.
I deserve this now.
Yeah, puts a paw on me. Like, oh, Mum.
So maybe dogs that have space are the real winners here. They get all the attention all the time.
Yes, definitely.
Yes. Well, thank you, Lucy. I really appreciate your time. For those of you who, maybe one person out there in the world who has not yet run across your channel, go check out Lucy's channel. And yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks so much for your time. I hope we can chat again soon in the future.
Yeah, it'd be lovely to catch up maybe post-quarantine, see how things change again.
Yes,
yeah.
See what has happened on the hair front.
Yeah, yes, I'll be there just with meters of it.
Well, thanks so much. I'll talk to you later.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye. My final guest is my husband, Dan.
Hello.
Thanks so much for joining me.
You're welcome.
We have a couple minutes of silence in our house, so I thought that we would...
I know, it's a miracle.
I know.
Except Theo did just start crying a little bit, but hopefully he'll keep it down.
Hopefully we can have a little conversation for a couple minutes talking about the world situation that we find ourselves in with the virus and a lockdowns kind of quarantine situation. So would you like to explain a little bit about any kind of regulations or changes that have happened in our city or in the U.S.?
Yeah, I think
lately?
in our state, it's been a little bit more lax than some places.
North Carolina.
North Carolina, so they're still allowing essential businesses to be open, which it's a little bit loosey-goosey on what that means exactly.
Loosey-goosey.
Loosey-goosey, yeah, it's a little unclear. Although, I mean, there's still restaurants open, but you have to drive up and pick up the food and do takeout. You can't go into the restaurant. So, yeah, I don't know how official that is. Do you know?
It is official that restaurants have to close. Businesses, I think the rule in North Carolina was, or at least in our county, is that if you are in contact with someone for 10 minutes or more, so if you are a hair cutter, if you are a massage therapist, like a tattoo artist, these kind of jobs, then you can't do your job.
And this is statewide.
Yes. So every state's different. Every city or county kind of has some different rules. But something I noticed that's different in the U.S., at least where we live, compared to some of the other interviews that you just watched with other countries, is that we don't have a specific rule that says you can only be with 2 people. So only 2 people can be together.
Oh.
So Emma mentioned that in Australia,
that seems really intense.
There's a specific rule that says you can only be in groups of 2 people or a family. And then Lucy mentioned that in the UK too. But we do not have that rule.
Yeah, I think that's too far, personally.
It's a little, that is quite strict. But in the UK, they also had a rule that said you can only exercise outside, so outside your personal property, for 1 hour. Go for a bike ride, go for a run for 1 hour per day. And in the US, we do not have this.
Yeah, although they are closing down a lot of public spaces, which is a little annoying to me because they closed down our local park. And to me, I feel like if you're outside, that's a lot better than being closed inside with somebody. It's better for people's mental health and well-being to be outside and be able to use these spaces, like the walking trail around our lake. You know, if somebody's not exactly 6 feet, you know, that's not the end of the world, in my opinion. when they're walking outside.
I think that it is interesting because we live in the mountains, and I mentioned with some of the other interviews that they've closed the national park, which means you can't go on a hike. Usually you see nobody when you go hiking.
A lot of times,
but
yeah.
you can't go into the national park. I understand closing playgrounds and any kind of equipment that you touch,
Yeah.
but it's quite difficult for people who have no outdoor space to find somewhere to be able to go for a walk or go for a run. If you have a dog, it'd probably be really challenging.
Yeah, we're really fortunate that we have a nice open backyard that we can spend a lot of time outside. And even though it's the same space over and over again, you know, we still have a lot of fun just walking around our neighborhood or being in our backyard.
Yeah, so I'm curious, how has your and mine subsequently daily life changed then? All these regulations, how much did they change your life in the last month or so?
Yeah, so technically it hasn't changed that much because we already worked from home and do a lot of stuff at home, but it still feels like a lot.
Yeah.
Like maybe just even just the mental weight of knowing that if I go to the grocery store, I have to, for a long time, like before in America, it's a little different than some other countries. They thought it's not a big deal to wear a mask, but right from the beginning, I thought, yeah, it's a good idea to wear a mask.
Yeah, you've been wearing a mask for a long time.
But you'll get looked at really funny in America if you do that, but not anymore. It's starting to you know, become more accepted.
In the last like 2 weeks or so, everyone started.
But it's just kind of like a mental weight to be walking around like, ooh, who's touched that? Who's done that? And it's just kind of like gotten to you psychologically. And then, of course, there's other things like places that we normally go, like the library. That's closed. A lot of the public parks that we go to, that's closed. So
I think that also about 1 month ago when you watched this, we had a new baby. So a lot in our personal lives has changed, but some things such as our family wants to come visit our baby. My family hasn't been able to visit our baby yet. And it would be really nice if our babysitter could come to watch our 2-year-old.
Yes.
But she can't come to watch our 2-year-old. So
well, she could, but it's not advisable.
Legally, she can, but most people are choosing not to do those types of interactions unless they're absolutely necessary, and it would just be nice. It's not necessary.
Yeah, so that's not against the law yet.
Yeah.
I hope it's not, personally.
But that's something that we choose not to do. But those are things that have changed in our daily lives. But honestly, we were planning on staying at home, not doing that much, not really working that much during March and April because we knew we were having a baby at the end of March, and it would be a crazy time, and we'd want to kind of adjust to our new family life. So for us, it's just kind of an extra level. I feel like what you said, the mental weight is the biggest change.
I think it's gotten weird with neighbors too, because we have really friendly neighbors, and a couple of them are children, and you want to just play with them, and even if you're thinking about it a lot more. If they're playing with the ball, they've touched all over the ball, and you can't play ball with them.
Oh yeah, for an example. Or our neighbors want to hold our new baby, but they can't hold the baby. So in that situation, those are the people we see the most often. They can't really interact with us in the way they did before. So that's really, that's a bummer. But we're all in this situation at the same time. So what about in the future when the main part...
Prediction time?
Yeah, when the main part of the lockdown or quarantine, all of this has passed.
I'm going to be guaranteed wrong about this.
Okay, what's your prediction? What's your wrong prediction?
My wrong prediction is... Well, what's your question exactly?
Oh, what do you think is going to happen?
What's going to happen,
period. I don't want to say, like, do you think it's going to be good or bad? Just what do you think will happen?
The virus is here to stay.
Okay.
It's going to probably come back again in the winter. You know, it might mutate. So we're just going to have to deal with this. Like, you know, I have a hard time believing they'll be able to get rid of it anytime soon. So it will be more akin to like the flu, like influenza or even the common cold, but just more serious. So I don't know. I kind of I'm hoping that people start living a little more regularly, but I don't think that's possible. Even if the government said that they're going to stop lockdowns, I think it's in people's heads now.
I think it will be tough to get out, but I have a feeling, at least
some people's heads
in the US, because there's not as many laws as there are in other countries. I think that in the US, probably after, if the government said, okay, concerts can go, you can go on, you can go to restaurants again, you can do anything again.
I don't think they'll do big groups for a long time.
Well, when that happens, I think that people will be very hesitant for maybe like a month. This is my prediction. And then we'll realize, oh, we're so tired of just keeping to ourselves, and they'll go out again.
Or they might do it for a month, and then they'll start doing it again, and then the numbers will creep up again, and then it will start being reported again, and then people will start cutting back. I don't know. I think there will be kind of like an ebb and flow of people going out and doing stuff and then staying back inside again.
I'm curious.
But I don't know how much, like, especially in the US where, like, so far, it seems like the central government hasn't put down the lockdowns. It's been state by state.
Yeah.
And it just hasn't been quite as intense as some places, it sounds like.
Yeah. For me personally, I'm going to be really curious what happens with the education system and what happens with businesses that aren't used to having all of their employees work from home when they can go back to work, if that's going to change how they do things. Like maybe they'll let people work from home more often, or
maybe some office type businesses will let them work from home more often anyways.
Yeah.
School is a big question though. I have no idea. That's because that's a really hot spot for germ spread, obviously. So
yeah, and I think that if both of the parents work, it is extremely difficult right now for them to manage their work and also help their kids do homeschooling. It's not traditional homeschooling, but do schooling at home. But maybe there'll be some flexibility. Who knows? They might not be so strict with how many days you miss at school if they can do stuff at home. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see.
I think a lot of places, I think I heard in Canada, they already canceled public school for the rest of the year.
Oh, like rest of the school year?
No, like this year.
Like 2020?
Yeah.
Whoa, okay.
Pretty sure. We'll have to look that up. But
Fact checking.
I don't know about America. Have you heard anything about that yet? We don't have kids in school yet, so.
Yeah, I haven't heard necessarily about being canceled until the end of the year. But I wouldn't be surprised because it seems like that's part of the mental weight, is that there's always an unknown of what's going to happen.
It also seems like in general the government has been more like the things that they do control, they've been shutting that down more.
Oh, like they control the school system.
And the parks and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems like every country is dealing with it differently, and in the US the main way is letting states kind of do their own thing, because New York is different than North Carolina or California or Missouri or wherever you might be. So just interesting to see.
I like the little experiments too.
Like every state doing something differently.
I mean, we have that in Europe too. Like apparently Sweden is doing less than normal.
Oh yeah. It's interesting to see how
and
things
right now
going.
I think they have a higher case rate, but like I don't know. I probably shouldn't talk about it because I haven't looked into all the details. So
well, that's kind of part of...
That's the whole problem with this thing.
Yeah, everyone is their own little expert, right? Well, thank you for joining me and talking about this
You're welcome.
Strange daily situation.
I don't know how
we find
much I
ourselves
added,
in.
but you know.
Well, we're just kind of...
Perspective. Everybody gets to see my quarantine beard.
Yeah. Chit-chatting about daily life and trying to figure out how to do our new norm. So I hope you appreciated this video. I hope it was interesting to you. Thank you all for spending some of your precious time learning English with us. And I want to know in the comments, how has daily life changed for you in the past month or maybe 2 months if your country has been was ahead of everyone and started quarantining earlier? What's your daily life look like? Is it different than before? Pretty normal? Let us know, because we are all experiencing something pretty similar, which is very unusual for the world. Thanks so much.
You're welcome.
And see you again next Friday for a new lesson here on my YouTube channel. Bye.
Bye.
The next step is to download my free ebook, 5 Steps to Becoming a Confident English Speaker. You'll learn what you need to do to speak confidently and fluently. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel for more free lessons. Thanks so much. Bye.